And so now we'll move into what's going on with Max Crosby. We're going to jump in my ear real quick. I'm going to be better about it, I swear to God. With what happened with Max's trade and why this matters so much, not just to the Ravens, but when I want to get to what it matters for the Raiders as well. Now, I think John Spytek, a lot of people asking around the league, I think he played this very, very well. Didn't really come out there with an exact price, allowed teams to kind of dictate where this was going. And once it started getting the ball rolling and kind of moving forward, it started to get towards teams knowing they were going to have to give up 2 first-round picks. And that's where the Cowboys fell short. They were going to give up a first and a second and another piece of...
Bro. Max Crosby to the fucking Ravens, bro. Joe Burrow, your ass is cooked, bro. You're cooked, gang. You're cooked. You're done for, bro. Because, bro, Joe Burrow, he got to go up against Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt. 2 times this season. He played all 3 of them twice this season, bro. He's cooked, bro. He's cooked, bro. He's finna get sacked like a motherfucker, bro. I'm like, real talk, bro. Yeah, bro. And, bro, the Bengals offensive linemen can't do shit. They can't do shit about it, bro. They can't do shit about it. Like, yeah, Joe Burrow, you're cooked, gang. I'm sorry, bro. You're cooked, bro. You're done for, bro.
Compensation as well, not enough.
Yeah, bro.
As the Ravens were going to give up those 2 first-round
picks.
Cooked, it's a very clean trade.
He's cooked.
2 1s
He's cooked
for Max Crosby. It makes a ton of sense, and it's very clean for both sides. Again, a lot of people around the league think John Spytek played this the right way because there are people in that Raiders building that believe this thing was probably over when they benched Max Crosby. If you want to go through the timetable of how we got here, is essentially the knee injury happened in October. They wanted to shut him down. He went and got other opinions Max Crosby did on his knee. He had doctors come to the Raiders to say, hey, Max can manage the pain. He can continue to play through this through the course of the season, and we can put off surgery. He presented that to the Raiders. Alex Guerrero and Tom Brady and company decided, you know what, I think it's time to shut you down. When they shut him down, and Max believed that was because
I can't believe they traded him to the Ravens, bro.
Obviously,
bro, which is crazy, Chad. Because at first, I think I saw it. What was it? I think it was I saw it on ESPN on Twitter. Or was it? It was either ESPN or NFL. I can't remember which one. Or Bleacher Report. I can't remember. It was one of them 3. They said the Cowboys was actually going to trade for Max Crosby. The Cowboys was actually working the deal with the Raiders to get Max Crosby, but the Ravens I think they jumped in to get on the deal, whatever. And the Cowboys backed out. Once the Ravens got in on the deal, they backed out. So that's how the Ravens got Max Crosby. But he was supposed to go to the Cowboys. He was supposed to go to the Cowboys because they did work out. The Raiders and Cowboys was working out some type of deal, whatever, to make that trade happen. But the Ravens jumped in and then the Cowboys backed out and shit. So but that'd be crazy. If Max Crosby did go to the Cowboys, that'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. Him, DeMarcus Lawrence, like, bro.
Well, and there were people in that building
that'd be nasty, bro.
Now the Raiders played it very well from that moment
that'd be nasty.
Into when that trade happened on Friday.
They
kind of just said, we do want Max back, and I think they do. They kind of essentially did know that it was over. So what ended up now happening for? Actually, let me give you, before I do that, let me give you the teams that were in. I mentioned the Cowboys, they're essentially the runner-up. The Eagles kind of kept some tabs. I know the Rams were kind of keeping an eye on it. Chicago was there, but I'm not sure to what extent. The Bills were...
Ooh, okay. Okay.
A little bit. And then Jacksonville. And some people were out there saying, I've asked some sources, Jacksonville was in. They just didn't have the first round capital after the Travis Hunter trade to put themselves fully to what was really going to be an opportunity.
So the Cowboys, Bills, Eagles, Rams, and Jacksonville was the 5 teams that was trying to get Max Crosby. Ooh. Bro, if Aaron Donald was still playing and the Rams got Max Crosby with Aaron Donald, bruh, man, nigga. Oh, the Rams defense would have been lethal, bro. Let me tell. That would have been lethal, man. Oh, and then the Eagles, him and Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter, yeah. He on defense. The Bills, yeah. Jacksonville, I don't know about Jacksonville, but I think the top three, I'll say top three for Max Crosby: Rams, Bills. I mean not Bills. Rams, Ravens, and Cowboys. I thought those top three teams that would have been nice.
To go all in on Max Crosby. So now what happens with the Ravens that they landed Max Crosby? They're in a win now mode. You can see you're on the back end of a guy who's won 2 MVPs in this league, and Lamar Jackson. You have the ability, and oftentimes what do I always say on these? That if you want to win a Super Bowl, teams oftentimes find that closer in the fourth quarter, that edge rusher that will close out games for you. That's why they get so highly paid. And that's part of why they went out and got Max Crosby. They were terrible in terms of sacks up to the Ravens standards. They have a lot of great pieces on that defense. The edge spot was lacking. I think they only had 30 sacks last season. So now they're in this defensive window with some other really talented guys locked up and a great defensive mind now as their head coach in Jesse Minter. I also think you shouldn't overlook what Max does for the culture of a building. And I think him right next to a first-time head coach, not to say the culture was terrible in Baltimore. I think it's one of the teams with a better culture. But we know how things ended with John Harbaugh, some of the stuff that was going on behind the scenes in meetings and where kind of the players' minds were.
I forgot John Harbaugh. He's not the head coach on that anymore.
And I think they're right back to where they want.
Bro, which is crazy, bro, because, bro, the NFL free agency been going crazy. Like, free agency trades, all that been going crazy, bro. Like, it's like DJ Moore. He got traded to the Bills. Josh Allen. I know people saying Josh Allen, he didn't have like a wide receiver 1, but now he do. He got DJ Moore. He got DJ Moore. He got Shakir, and then he got Coleman. I mean, Coleman, he ain't really been playing up to par. Like you know what I'm saying? But I think this upcoming season he gonna really show out, you feel me? So he got 3 wide receivers. And DJ Moore was balling the previous season, bro. He was balling, bro. So, hey, and then who else? Mike Evans. Mike Evans just signed with the 49ers, a 3-year deal with the 49ers. So I'm gonna see how the 49ers gonna do with Mike Evans on their team now. You feel me? So bro, I don't know, bro. The NFL, I don't know. The NFL trade and free agency, it get a little crazy, bro. But I'm excited, bro. I'm excited for this upcoming NFL season, bro. No cap,
in terms of the culture that was going on. The Ravens are very good at figuring out players on their 3rd contracts. They've always done this with guys that are on their 3rd contracts in the NFL. Now you get Max Crosby here as one of these guys that's approaching 30 but still playing at an outstanding level. So all of this fits together for what the Ravens want to do, and that's why they gave up 2 first-round picks, for something they've never done for a player in their 31-year history. So they bucked the norm, same as the Packers did last year, bucked the trend that they're usually operating as an organization, because when you feel like that Super Bowl is right there, sometimes you break precedent, and that's what the Ravens did. As for the Raiders side of things, I think this is really important. When I had a conversation with John Spytek at the Combine, he told me we need to be very sober, that was his word, very sober in how we approach the rebuild here with the Las Vegas Raiders, because we want to do it the right way and we want to build it for the long term. Listening to him say that, and when he also added that Clint Kubiak understands that he's coming to a team that does not have a roster nearly as good as the team he just left.
Yeah.
Spytek said that to me.
So we ain't gonna watch.
Getting a sense that they understand
all this. So we probably watch it when it hit like
seasons to get exactly where they want to get. Now they have the number 1 pick,
50-some minutes, probably like 53 minutes.
Then they have the opportunity to add more with the
then
14th
react to
overall pick in this draft with the Ravens.
The next chapter and all that. You feel me?
And I think they understood that Max, as much as he is an outstanding player, where where is he going to be in 2 years?
There's already
3 years
excuses
when
for
they're really
Lamar
feeling
right
they're
now.
going to be contenders after they build this thing the right way? Where
These
is Max as a
people here,
player?
bro.
And if you wanted to move on from him between now and then, would his value be as high as it is now? So I think they played this really, really well. They understood that they created a contract with Max Crosby that was a very tradable contract. It was 30.8, 29.8, 27.3, 28.2. That's nowhere near what Micah Parsons is getting, and it puts them in a very good spot. So that's where things stand right now with Max Crosby and both teams that were related to it, and the teams that missed out kind of pivoted. Rashawn Gary ends up going now to the Cowboys after they missed out on Max and Khalil Mack, and now we'll see what some of those other teams do. With the free agent numbers are going to go up, but the Ravens end up landing their guy. Let's see what else we got in this little chat here.
Debo, free agent.
Broncos getting help for Bo. Didn't hate the Troutman signing, but got to do more than that. I think they're going to be looking at running backs. We'll get to that certainly. I think they're really, really looking at running backs. Mike Evans would be a good fit for the Ravens as well. I think he might be headed elsewhere and might be on a different coast. How about Zaire Franklin and the trade that went on there? I'll go through this one pretty quickly because this does show us we got to keep our eye on Quay Walker. The Packers knew they weren't going to be able to afford to bring him back. He could be in the likes of $15 million. We'll see what the numbers end up being, but they knew they weren't going to be able to bring back Walker at that price. So they make the trade for Zaire Franklin, which is rare for the Packers.
They add a lot for that
guys that are in their 30s and types of moves like this, but they end up doing it. They end up trading Colby Wooden to the Colts. This is kind of a need for both teams. Now, Franklin's not a great cover guy, not by any stretch. He plays essentially more downhill. Covering is definitely an issue. They still do have another linebacker, in play that kind of emerged in a sense in Edgerrin Cooper, who's going to be that main guy. We're going to see what they do with Zaire Franklin, but the financials are obviously much lower than what it was going to be with Quay Walker. So this deal kind of helped out both sides. We'll see what they, have in Zaire Franklin, who a guy a couple of years ago was just a monster in terms of tackles. 173 in 2024. I mean, maybe some people said fell off a little bit this year, but was never really a fit for Lou Anarumo's scheme. So this trade kind of worked out for both, but now keep an eye on Quay Walker and where he's going to land because it could be a pretty good
Joy Bosa, yeah, free.
I think what everybody's really curious about, Evans to Buffalo, bro. No, it's not going to happen. I just made a trade for DJ Moore. All right, how about Jalen Carter and what's happening with one of the best interior pass rushers in all of football? Well, first, there's the Jordan Davis contract where he gets 3 years, $78 million, the most ever for a nose tackle. And people are curious if that deal for Jordan Davis is going to impact Jalen Carter and where the Eagles want to allocate their funds. I think if you know Howie Roseman, taking care of the trenches on both sides of the ball is where his focus is. Maybe.
So if the Eagles do trade Jalen Carter, what team would he fit for, though? That's So what y'all think, Chad? If the Eagles do trade for Jalen Carter, what team would y'all think he'd be a fit for? Like a good fit for? Like what team? I'm trying to think, bro. I'm trying to think. What team would he fit for? I can't really think of no teams off the top of my head right now. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what teams. I don't know what team he'll fit if he. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, bro.
Got away from it just a little bit over the last couple of years, but don't be surprised if he continues to keep the focus there. Credit to Jordan Davis for getting himself in shape. I always talk to guys in that building who told me this guy has no idea how talented he can be and how good he can be in the NFL. Once he figures it out, he'll start really, really taking this league by storm. And you've seen that with Jordan Davis. You've seen it on special teams with the blocked field goal and the return, all this stuff. And he's turned into a dynamic player, and look for them to increase his role in just playing those early downs with the money now that they've given him. With Jalen Carter, it doesn't directly impact him because they always had a plan that they were going to make sure that they kept the trenches intact. I think they do realize that they need to make a move with Jalen Carter, and that's going to be one of two things. Do you move on from him while his value is very high and the team will get control for 2 years?
I just seen a comment. Somebody said trade Jalen Carter to Cincinnati. That's not bad. That ain't bad. That's not bad. To Cincinnati, that ain't bad. What team do y'all think, if the Eagles do trade Jalen Carter, what team, bro? what team would y'all pick for? Like, what team would y'all think he'd be a good fit for? Cincinnati, they ain't actually. That's not a bad. That's not bad. Cincinnati's not bad. I ain't think about Cincinnati. But what team would y'all say he'd be a good fit for? See, y'all let me know.
He's one of the best interior pass rushers in football, or do you make the move as in giving him the contract extension? I think the latter is essentially where Howie Roseman's going right now, to my understanding. I think it's much
give
more
him a contract,
likely that a contract extension
but if y'all do trade him,
if they move Jalen Carter. Now, will teams call?
Dallas?
I certainly believe so. Will Howie listen? He always does.
Hey.
And if he's blown away by something, obviously, then maybe thinking could change in some sense. But I do think they understand what they have. Jalen Carter was the best player in that draft and fell to them because of what was going on with some of the off-the-field issues. They do have a secret weapon in that building. I don't want to put him on blast, but Connor Barwin is really their secret weapon. Former pass rusher himself for the Texans, for the Eagles. He works with all of these guys off the field, all of their character stuff, really helping them be just better football players, better humans. And it's really a cheat code I think the Eagles actually have with Connor Barwin behind the scenes. And then when you look at the market right now, why teams would be interested, it's really John Franklin Myers in there as the interior at the cream of the crop, and he's going to probably go very early. Look for him to get a deal in the 20s potentially. I think that's going to be something we keep an eye on. But outside of him, that's why teams would be interested in Jalen Carter. But I just don't see him really being on the move. We'll see what ends up happening. Do you think Carter to the Bengals is possible? We'll just kind of shot that down a little bit. Hendrickson to the Chiefs. I think Trey's going to have a very interesting market. DJ is definitely a number one at this point in their careers. DJ is better than EZ. Okay.
Facts. DJ is definitely number one
by a mile. How about Taron Johnson to the Raiders? A sneaky good trade. I think he's one of the better slot corners in football. I definitely think with the change of scheme in Buffalo, obviously some things were going to change on that side of the ball. The Raiders need
guard to the Bears,
and I think getting
that ain't bad.
Johnson, a nice step in the right direction.
That's I don't know.
Carter to the Bears, guys. I really don't see Carter going anywhere right now. I think it's most likely he gets a contract extension. Is Hendrickson Buffalo possible? I think it is. I think they're one of the teams that are kind of interested there. Any rumors the Raiders will pick in free agency? They have plenty of money to spend. Keep an eye on them adding a wide receiver. They've been kind of in the mix for Alec Pierce. They're kind of like the Titans. I just want to get this out there. The Titans, I just got a text from somebody. There you go. We got money to spend. We'll see how we can do it and how it all shakes out. I mean, that's just kind of where this is where it's going to be in terms of spending. Look for the Raiders to look at possibly adding one of these edge guys, adding one of these receivers. There's plenty of stuff to go on there. All right, with Tyler Linderbaum. By the way, we're 8 minutes. Just giving you let you know, we're 8 minutes away from the open of the league tampering period. All right, Linderbaum's going to get paid, and I mean paid. I don't think he's going to be able to go back to Baltimore, even though they've kept tabs on this and they've tried to see what they can do. But obviously, if they have the max deal, they got to renegotiate Lamar's contract to free up some money. And they did offer him already a record-setting contract for a center. First off, I want to say why Tyler Linderbaum's available. Most people go, why is a center this talented available out here in free agency? Because usually players with no red flags don't hit free agency these days. Teams just lock them up. Well, guess what? You couldn't hit them with the franchise tag because guess what? All offensive linemen are equal. The franchise tag is not for centers. It's for offensive linemen. So essentially it is a tackle price. Same thing with this fifth-year option playing in a factor in that. So the numbers just got really, really large, and that's how we got here because they couldn't tag him because all offensive linemen are together. So teams that could be interested in Tyler Linderbaum, which this could get to 22, 23 million a year. I mean, he wants 25. I don't know if it gets to that. But, I mean, this is a number that's going to be insane and break the center record. Right now, Creed Humphrey is the highest paid center in football with the Kansas City Chiefs. I believe that's 18 a year. This, again, could be in the low to mid-20s. I would keep an eye on the Raiders being one of those teams. Certainly, you've drafted quarterback number one overall. You'd like to protect him the best you can early in his career. We know how tough Fernando Mendoza is mentally and physically, but man, this guy's got to get some protection. And obviously, we know the Raiders need to really rebuild that line. I would keep an eye on the Commanders as well as a team that's going to be very interested in what they're going after in terms of Tyler Linderbaum as well. I think that's a part that you're going to have to keep an eye on. I think you're going to have to keep an eye on the Titans, who have a ton of money, and a young quarterback in Cam Ward that they'd like to protect. I look at the Lions and the Giants and the Browns as well. I think that's also a case.
The Lions, they get rid of everybody.
My boy Rap Sheet has a little something. Trent Williams, the 49ers are now said to be open to trading Trent Williams, sources say. Okay, we'll see what ends up happening because Trent Williams, like I mentioned on a previous stream, older in age, I think he's 36. He has a massive cap number that the 49ers needed to take care of. And they were going to try to renegotiate something. John Lynch was very positive in how he thought about it.
Bro,
he was very optimistic in getting
the
something
49ers
done.
better not trade
it looks
Trent.
like
They better
obviously
not trade
shifting
him
a little bit. But we'll see what ends up happening and monitoring in terms of Trent Williams. But again, with Tyler Linderbaum, keep an eye on the Raiders, Commanders, Titans, Lions, Giants, Browns, to my understanding. And then there's a drop-off at the center because a couple of teams that were looking at him, the Bears were looking at him, and then they ended up filling the spot. The Chargers were interested in centers, ended up filling it. So that's where things stand with the center spot in Tyler Linderbaum. He is going to make a massive, massive.
Bro, if the 49ers trade him, man, I don't know, bro. They better not trade him, bro. But if they do,
any good news on my Colts? Minus this Daniel Jones misery. This is something we really, really need to.
I ain't gonna say they're gonna be fucked
because they are trying to negotiate
this
Daniel Jones contract and trying to keep him and trying to keep Alec Pierce. Well, Alec Pierce is now 5 minutes away from being able to talk to a number of teams, and he's going to get anywhere from $27 to $30 million a year. If you were able to get the Daniel Jones contract already finished, you would have been able to maybe possibly pivot to Alec Pierce. They couldn't get the deal done for Daniel Jones, so they had to hit him with the transition tag. If they got the deal done, they could have tagged Alec Pierce for $27 million this year and then worked the contract off of that and kept him locked in until July 15th when either he signs the tag or they work out a long-term deal. Now he's open to talk to everybody, and it looks like he could possibly be out the door. There's a number of teams interested. And I'll get back to him, sticking with the receiver position, I do want to mention Mike Evans. And moving on to Mike Evans, who is a future Hall of Famer, who will be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
That boy just signed a 3-year deal. A three-year, goddamn. That boy just signed a 3-year deal with the motherfucking 49ers. Hey, man. Mr. 1K. Hey. That's a good pickup on the 49ers, man. That's a good pickup, bro. That's a good pickup for the 49ers, bro. That's a good pickup. Mike Evans gonna ball, bro. He gonna ball
his
bro.
1,000 yards a season streak, I think, cut at 11 this past year. Just unbelievable amount of production. There was a lot of talk, I was saying, about him returning back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And there were people in that building thinking, yes, he wanted to test free agency for the first time in his career. Yes, this could be a ploy to just see what's out there. I've never experienced it before, he could be thinking. But at the same time, there was a thought that maybe he's using it to get himself a little more cash and a little more money, in a sense, as he goes back to Tampa for one last hurrah. That thought process has shifted this morning. Talking to some people, I do believe that there is a chance he could be playing elsewhere. I think he wants somewhere in that $20 million range. I think he wants to be in a situation where he's the focal point of an offense, where he can get a high volume. He wants to play with a good offensive coordinator, a really stable quarterback situation. He wants a shot at a Super Bowl for sure. They'll see how many teams come into that. I do think the Chargers could be in play. I really think the 49ers are in play for Mike Evans. I think those are some teams that I would keep an eye on. Obviously, there's other suitors out there for a guy who is a
It's crazy because he said that and then he signed with the 49ers. That's crazy.
Wide receiver, they just do not come around in the NFL very often. When you look at all the different type of guys that play the position, you go back. I always talk to my buddy Kurt Warner. Always said, I know there's all these different guys that play the position different ways, and a lot of them can be great for you, slot guys, Edelman types. There's nothing better than when you got to have it moment. If you have a dominant outside receiver like a Mike Evans that you can always rely on no matter what the coverage is, and he can find a way to come down with the football. I mean, there's still so much value in him there. So we'll see where he ends up. But there's a strong sense right now that Mike Evans could be playing elsewhere.
Mike Evans to the Bills
in 2026 and be in a different uniform for the first time of his NFL career. What are we at?
To the Ravens. Hey, to the Ravens.
Evans to the Bills. Guys, they just traded for DJ Moore.
So
that's where things stand right now.
I'm saying they just got DJ Moore, bro. The Bills just got DJ Moore from the Browns, bro. And DJ Moore was balling for Chicago this previous season, bro. He was balling, bro. Regular season and playoff, bro, he was balling, bro. And Josh Allen, he finally got a wide receiver one, because I know everybody was saying Josh Allen don't have a wide receiver one. Now he got one. Plus Shakur and Coleman. Even though Coleman, he ain't really been playing up to par, but I feel like he gonna play up to par this season and dominate. So that's just my opinion. But hey, man, I think I'm telling you, bro, the free agency is going crazy.
They're not going to go spend a lot of money on another wide receiver when they do have other needs that they're looking to do. I want to mention a couple of things as we're now 2 minutes away from that legal tampering window opening up. And once that opens up, I know it's the first time these teams can talk to one another. We can have some deals start happening as soon as 1 minute from now. And when that happens, we will pivot our stream to exactly what that breaking news is. And then we will try to find a way to bring you that and then pivot back to where we were in the rundown. A couple other things. Khalil Mack signs back for a 1 year with the Chargers. I mentioned the Cowboys were in on him, but he goes back there. They were looking for edge help. They could be looking.
Dang, the Cowboys wanted Max Crosby, but they couldn't get him. Well, so the Cowboys, they wanted Max Crosby. They wanted Khalil Mack. They wanted both of them. Bro, if they would have got both of them, bro, what? Both of them plus DeMarcus Lawrence? Bro, what? Cowboys defense unstoppable, bro. But man.
There's some more as well. I think Connor McGovern is definitely one to mention. When I mentioned where Tyler Linderbaum is, Connor McGovern was kind of the next center on the list. And because of this and where it's going with Linderbaum and where the center market's going, he gets 4 years, $52 million to go back to Buffalo. They wanted to lock up one of these interior guys on their offensive line, I was told. They end up getting Connor McGovern back, so the center for Josh Allen remains there. And considering where the free agent class is going, he was going to get well above average at the position. So I think the Bills were smart to lock him up before he fully got to free agency, and they could see what else was out there. Really keep an eye on Wan'Dale Robinson right now. He might be a guy that finds a new home even today on the first day of free agency. I know it sounds crazy, like, oh, Wan'Dale Robinson, a hot commodity early. I would keep an eye on rekindling that relationship.
So he signed, who did he sign with, bro? They just broke the news today. He signed. I can't remember.
Who's
bro.
now the offensive
but he signed with somebody.
He is a very reliable receiver.
He signed with somebody. I can't remember.
Observe. Question. Hypothesize. Experiment. Test.
He is the type of receiver that you can lean on in a quarterback-friendly spot where he plays predominantly out of the slot, but he can be a vertical threat out of the slot. He's reliable. He has great hands. He runs really, really good routes. He's kind of a precision route runner. He's exactly where he's supposed to be at all times. You could say over the last season, he was arguably one of the best guys in a Giants uniform. He is only 25 years old, so I think he has a very, very good market. He's somebody that you're going to need to keep an eye on. I think in this first day, I think he could probably go in this first day. I think Romeo Doubs could also possibly go in this first day, as well as Alec Pierce. We'll see what ends up happening because we have now hit the legal tampering window. It has opened right now, noon Eastern. It is open and it is going. So now teams have the ability to legally speak to free agents that are on other teams. They can speak to the players. They can speak to the agents. I want to mention this real quickly. You can have 5 Zooms, up to 5 Zooms for an hour long each, with a free agent on another team, with the player specific. That's a new thing this year. And I think how they use those Zooms, how teams use those Zooms, will be telling a little bit about where they're looking, because again, you only get 5 of them. Outside of that, the agents and the teams can start discussing what they'd like to do in terms of matching where they want to land. So the Travis Kelce news is the big news early this morning. They're expected to really work out a deal that they're going to be able to bring him back for that 14th season. I was talking to
he ain't leaving. He's not, bro. Travis not leaving us, bro. He's not leaving us, bro. He gonna come back,
couple
bro.
Of weeks. And it did
Man,
always
he's not
sense that
leaving
was
us,
going to be
bro.
the case.
He's gonna come
Travis
back.
finished the season in a spot to where he thought he really got his body right, I was told, to play, 13, 14 years and figured out how he was going to be able to keep himself more sustainable, was the word I was given, throughout the course of an NFL season. And now Swifties rejoice as Travis Kelce is going to be in a Chiefs uniform. It's expected to get the deal done. And that's not it at the skill positions. Keep an eye on what they're looking at in terms of the running back spot. They're certainly in play for Kenneth Walker. I think they might want to make a move at one of these guys. If they don't get Walker, they could also pivot and get someone else. Both running backs in Kansas City are both free agents. I could see them definitely going that route in terms of filling that position. They do have the number 9 overall pick. They could have Jeremiah Love. Some people think he may be gone by 9, but can you rely on that? I do think Kansas City makes a move at the running back spot. I think the Broncos are in there as well at the running back spot. Let's go Birds, Panthers. Let's see, Steelers, where are they at? Steelers need to figure out, I think, a running mate opposite of DK. I think there's some spots on the defensive side. Obviously, they just made a move at corner and bringing back Asante Samuel Jr., I think, today. That helps them as well. I think Kenneth Gainwell, by the way, who Aaron Rodgers really, really liked, has a sneaky decent market than maybe what some people think as a third down pass catching back and where he's at. Bengals need to do something. Keep an eye on Cincinnati, really trying to do something on that defensive side of the ball and making a couple of different moves if they can.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be kind of aggressive in what they can kind of figure out on that side of the ball. Okay, we are now at a few minutes into the window, and we'll see where it's at. Let's see. It already looks, let me see. It's already kind of breaking right now. Yep. And there it is. I mentioned how it could be difficult to get both deals done. What I would read into Alec Pierce agreeing to a $114 million contract
God damn.
would tell me this, that they're close on getting Daniel Jones's deal done. Expect to have Daniel Jones's contract locked in.
116 mil for 4 years? Ooh.
Probably in the near future. Remember, he is on the transition tag. And that means another team can make an offer to Daniel Jones. But then the Colts do have the opportunity to match that offer. If they match that offer, then they get Daniel Jones. I'm not even sure another team's putting in an offer sheet on it, but Alec Pierce wanted to play with Daniel Jones. There were 2 players that were kind of directly tied, and the Colts wanted to make sure he didn't reach free agency. He essentially reached free agency for 3 minutes. That's essentially what he got. Now, it's interesting because last week he was speaking very publicly about how he wanted to meet, be able to speak to other teams, how he wanted to go out there and have the ability to speak to other teams and see what was out there. There were teams that were certainly in on Alec Pierce, and we all knew that he was going to, let me get my Alec Pierce notes up here real quick. He was always going to get paid, and Indy always had a priority to bring him back. But it was taking much longer than they expected. So it was getting much, much closer up to this spot to where other teams were going to be able to vie for his services. He's only 26 years old. And my buddy Steve Smith and I on our show did a deep dive on Alec Pierce that we just put up.
Dog.
And I think there were teams that wanted him, and that was New England was certainly looking. The Raiders were certainly in. I think the Titans were kind of into some capacity. Teams were really planning to see if they could have a chance at Alec Pierce, who breaks the record for the largest free agent wide receiver contract. He was always going to get a massive, massive deal. And I know it's interesting to think for a guy that has only had 47 catches, the most he's had in a season, is going to get a deal like this. But he does. And why does he get that? Because of the projection that he's supposed to have. The Colts do believe he's just kind of scratching the surface. He's much more than just a deep threat, which he certainly is, and that's just something you pay for because it's so rare to have players that can be explosive consistently. But he can be a guy that's explosive down the field and also do it within volume. 32 is 47 catches. As I mentioned, 47 catches last year. 32 of them were for explosive plays downfield. That's just a hard thing to replicate. There's a lot of guys that have speed that get downfield, but they can get pushed off their route. They're not as physical.
He did get overpaid.
He's a bigger body guy at 6'3",
116 mil,
but still can
for 4
absolutely fly
years
downfield.
Bro, come on, man.
He has the ability also to use that cushion. That's one thing Reggie Wayne is his receiver coach there in Indianapolis. And, he has kind of learned from Reggie to use that speed and that cushion to break off routes and kind of come back into the intermediate game. And they're starting to see him be a guy that can really be a number one wide receiver. And so the top guy is off the market. Teams that were really vying for receivers now have to shift down. And that's why I said very quickly Alec Pierce could go. You could see today Romeo Doubs, who a lot of people are in love with in terms of free agency. Wan'Dale Robinson, who a lot of teams like in terms of free agency.
Bro,
the next ones that teams have to pivot
and
have
beast,
the ability to now go after with Alec Pierce off the board and returning back to the Indianapolis Colts. One of the things that also teams are really liked about Pierce is that with his age and his growth, he's kind of started to develop himself more into that wide receiver. And there's people that think he's a true number one. We'll see if that ends up happening. We'll see if this moves Michael Pittman, and it possibly could lead to a Michael Pittman release. 116 That's another aspect that I would really, really like to keep an eye on. If you look at these receivers that are in this kind of
overpay for sure,
because it's 4 years, $114 million. That's $84 million in guarantees. 60 is that fully guaranteed. This is a monster deal. That's 29 per year. That is a lot of money. I mentioned 27 to 30. 29 is right there. I want to kind of mention the other receivers he's in line with, okay? There's 7 receivers that are making between $25 and $29 million a year right now. Devontae Smith makes 25. Jameson Williams makes 26.6. George Pickens makes 27.3. DJ Moore at 27.5. Now that he's on the Bills, that contract still tolls, but it also is more guaranteed in the future. Jalen Waddle at 28.2. T. Higgins 28.7. Terry McLaurin 29. My point is, some of these guys are number 2s on their teams. Actually, almost half of them are number 2s on their teams right now. So it is actually in line with some of these contracts right here, with the potential that Alec Pierce is at number 1 as he likes playing with Daniel Jones. I do know that is certainly something that the two of them wanted to have continue, and they were able to make sure that they could have it continue as now Alec Pierce lands back with the Indianapolis Colts. Again, the teams that missed out, to reiterate, I think the Titans were certainly in. The Patriots, to my notes, were really in, and the Raiders were really in on Alec Pierce. And everybody who has money to spend would be, and has some young quarterbacks in those locations.
Not all of this.
Patriots looking at Drake May.
I'm gonna react to some other stuff after this.
But I'm not reacting to it. It's not going to happen. He's going back to Indianapolis. And so Alec Pierce locked in. That pivots teams to Romeo Doubs, who's still just 26. Wan'Dale Robinson, I believe, who's 25. Some guys that these teams with a lot of money to spend and some young quarterbacks.
And the NFL, bro, they be getting paid, bro.
All right, let's see what you guys say in the chats here.
They get paid.
On Pierce, paid him like a number 1, and he's nowhere near that. It's interesting because you mentioned that. The guys I mentioned between 25 and 29, Devontae Smith isn't a 1, but I think he is a 1, but he's obviously not. Jameson Williams isn't their 1.
Not today.
George Pickens isn't their 1. T. Higgins isn't their 1. And he gets 28.7. I mean, all of those guys have just an insane player playing with them. This is a gamble in some senses, but a lot of people believe that it's a projection of what they've seen in the growth over the last couple of seasons. You also have to remember he's had very inconsistent quarterback play in the early portion of his career. I mean, when you're playing with Anthony Richardson, you're not really sure where the ball is going to go. So that's kind of where Alec Pierce was, and now he stays in Indianapolis. And again, I would say this is a pretty good correlation that deal with Daniel Jones is going to end up getting done, and they're going to end up getting both guys. An interesting nugget here, I would say Kyler Murray kind of had his eye on Indianapolis if the Daniel Jones deal can't get done.
So
I think that's kind of something just to keep
in
mind.
They did release. I forgot they released it, bro.
But it's one of those spots Kyler Murray is kind of interested in.
Arizona releases Kyler Murray. I forgot.
What else we got here? Murray, first to the Vikings. Let's jump into Kyler Murray because there's a lot here on Kyler Murray. I just want to say
the Vikings.
Kyler Murray can't go anywhere right now. He can't sign with the team until 4:00 on Wednesday when he's officially released. Yes, the Vikings are the front runner for where he's possibly going to land. It's going to be interesting to see what Kyler does in terms of looking around and finding different things that are out there because he's never talked to teams before. He hasn't talked to teams since he was drafted, was that first overall in 2019. So I think getting an opportunity to speak to some other teams, Kyler Murray, most likely a lot of people think is going to land with the Vikings. I think that's a logical connection when he's playing for the league minimum. Why wouldn't he want to play for somebody like Kevin O'Connell, who they love a reclamation project and they're looking for their next one? They're looking for somebody to compete with J.J. McCarthy. They're looking for insurance, even if J.J. McCarthy wins the job, that he has had issues staying on the field, that he helps keep them on the field and playing at a high level at the quarterback spot. So he still can't sign till Wednesday. Neither can Kirk Cousins. Neither can Tua Tagovailoa, even though we're hearing the pressure put on by the Falcons, which they are legally allowed to talk to him because an announcement has been made. And Geno Smith, put him in that group. None of these guys can sign till Wednesday.
So Vikings, Jets, him resigning with Miami, Steelers, and Falcons for Kyle Murray. If I had to put my money on it, I say the best fit for Kyle Murray is either the Vikings. You play with just Jefferson, or I say Vikings or Miami would be those teams. Those two teams would be a perfect fit for Kyle Murray, in my opinion. I think those two teams would be perfect for him. But y'all let me know what teams y'all think would be perfect for him out of these four. Out of these five. My fault.
But keep an eye on Kyler being maybe one of the next dominoes to drop in terms of the quarterback market.
Vikings and Miami. If I had to pick, I'll say the Vikings.
Willis. Okay. I'm going to kind of try to shuffle here as we'll go through this rundown. We'll go back to it until the next kind of big news starts to break here and where we're at. And so let me find back to where I was for our next.
I doubt that my
they do that, bitch.
This hallowed institution.
They aren't.
Part of the rundown here. Where
they do that, motherfucker.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Eagles notes. Thank you. Thank you, Ian. Appreciate it. Let me get me back to my Eagles notes. All right. I mentioned already at the top of the show where Jalen Carter kind of stands, and we kind of covered that. But I'll mention I think it's much more likely that that he's going to return to Philadelphia on a new contract as opposed to leaving. Okay. So now let's kind of pivot it a little bit to what else the Eagles are looking to take care of, and the other one would be obviously A.J. Brown. And where things stand with A.J. Brown was we kind of missed the window a little bit. I think that's kind of where we're at. The window for them to make a move with A.J. Brown was going to be maximized similarly to the way Max Crosby and the Raiders were handling it, which is if you can trade him before other receivers are available or pass rushers are available, with Max Crosby's sense, before the league year opens. Now the tampering window is open and teams can go out there and start looking at other wide receivers. I think what we need to realize with A.J.
If the Eagles do trade A.J. Brown, where would he go, though? Like, what other team would he go to if they did trade him? That's the thing. I don't know what other team he'll go to if they traded him. Because he signed a contract with the Eagles all the way until I think 2029 is when his contract is over with the Eagles. It's 2029. So if they do trade him, where would he go? Like, what team would? I don't know. I don't know what team he'll go to. I mean, I would say Ravens, but I don't know. I don't know, man.
A.J. Brown is the cap consideration, the replaceability, and the compensation all are at play here for Howie Roseman. How does he make sure he checks each and every one of those boxes if he makes a move? Well, the way he does that is if the asking price is where he thinks it is. Remember, he gave up a first and I think a fourth to get him from the Titans. He kind of wants a first and something now, even 4 years later. Usually that's not what happens. A player plays for you for 4 years, and he gets even older and closer to 30 like A.J. Brown is, and he has the knee injury he's been managing.
Yeah, I don't know what team he was going to.
Putting up big numbers. 2 1,400-yard seasons in his first 2 years in Philly, 2,000-yard seasons in his last 2 seasons in Philly. Yes, the numbers dropped off a little bit in 25. There's some frustration there. I'm not sure if he wants to keep playing with Jalen Hurts and for Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni did tell me at the Combine that he's excited to keep working with A.J. Brown, and that might be what ends up happening here. They don't have to move him right now. There was no timetable to move him before the start of the league year. That was just one of the windows. Now that the league year is opened and they haven't moved A.J. Brown, keep an eye on them looking at some of these other aspects and times that they can make a move. Whether that is something around the draft, whether that's something after June 1st, which would be interesting because they do have to carry that cap hit that he has for the next several months. You can't just like designate a trade post June 1st. You can't do that like you can with a release. So you would have to physically trade him after June 1st and keep that money on your books until that happened. Could that be something that happens later? Certainly. Could it be something that happens at the draft? Certainly. Could A.J. Brown play on the Eagles in 2026? He certainly could. There's a chance that that could happen. This was never like a trade or bust situation. This was a trade or play for the Eagles type of situation. The Eagles still always do believe they're right in that Super Bowl window. They have a Super Bowl winning quarterback, a Super Bowl MVP quarterback. Now, they do have a new offensive system that changes some things with Sean Mannion coming in. And how does that kind of alter the way this offense fully operates? We'll see. They did always feel if they did move from A.J. Brown and they got the compensation.
I don't know where he'll go to. That's the thing, bro. I don't know where he'll go.
Where the picks possibly could come. Let's just use this as a hypothetical. What if Howie Roseman says, I don't want your 31st overall pick if you want to give me a first-round pick. I want your first-round pick next year. The Patriots are sitting here going, well, we know it's probably going to be higher than 31 unless we win the Super Bowl, and it's 32. So we're probably giving you the higher of the two picks. We would prefer to give you 31 this year. Well, these are all the negotiations that Howie Roseman tries to finagle in the way that he operates in getting these deals done. But the price was really, really high. It's still very, very high. I think the Bills were in play, but to an extent, I don't really know that they make the move. The Chargers could be in, the Rams could be in, but they made the move for Trent McDuffie and spend a ton of capital there. So I do think what A.J. Brown wants and the teams that are interested do align. A good quarterback, a chance to win a Super Bowl, steady offense. I think the teams I listed, it all exists. But I don't think they have to trade him right now. And you saw that they didn't rush to make a move. The price is still high, and they didn't make a move with A.J. Brown. Giants news, please. There's not really Giants news to have right now, but I certainly love it. Trent Williams to the Bengals. Interesting. Jags in the Super Bowl. That's all it says. Ken Walker, 2 Chiefs. That's going to be one that I think we're definitely going to try to keep our eye on for sure. I think that's a team that's going to stay interested in Kenneth Walker. I really do. I think they want to make a move at that back spot. The Patriots do make a move just now on Draymond Jones, a player I know really, really well. I think that's the type of player that Mike Vrabel obviously goes after. This is a middle-of-the-road type of signing. It's interesting that they jumped early. I think sometimes you can read into these type of things. Draymond Jones is a guy who can play inside and outside. Remember, he was traded from the Titans to the Ravens at the deadline and actually helped that Ravens lacking pass rush to an extent. He started his career in Denver and played for Vic Fangio and then went to Seattle and then to Nashville and then to Baltimore. It's a guy who has a lot of position flexibility. The fact that they jumped on a 3-year contract for almost $40 million early shows you that Mike Vrabel wants some position flexibility in what he has and what he's dealing with up front. I think that's a big aspect of what he wants to build there in New England. All right, let's get to some of these Packers free agency notes, because I do think it's kind of interesting where they're at. I mentioned Quay Walker. There's a chance this guy at the linebacker spot, off-ball spot, could get $15 million a year. It could be a possibility. That's why they went and made the trade for Zaire Franklin and bring him in for 6.2 this year and 8.2 next year.
So my
Rasheed Walker is the one that
is a Green Bay fan.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I've been a Green Bay fan since I was a kid.
Played as consistent as Walker did, or really as durable as he kind of has been of late. He's going to be in that $20 million a year range. Is he the best left tackle in football? No. Is he serviceable? He certainly is. I think you look at what happened with Dan Moore and happened to him last year and getting paid. I think this is going to be a similar situation with Rasheed Walker, that he's going to go out there and definitely has a market and definitely will be one that I think could possibly go off the board today. So we'll see what ends up happening with Rasheed Walker. The interesting part for the Packers, as I mentioned, that these are Packers free agency notes, this was a 7th round pick that they converted into a serviceable starting left tackle. What does that mean? When he leaves in free agency and gets this deal that we're talking about as possibly being something in the $20 million range, they're going to get a 3rd round comp pick in return, which I think is a really good pull for the Packers in return for what went on with Rasheed Walker. Definitely an under the radar type of move I could see Green Bay looking for is an addition to their backfield. Yes, they have Josh Jacobs, but I know that they do like to have some carries split in some capacity, a running mate. I'm not saying the top of the market type running backs, but a running mate for Jacobs is something that you should keep an eye on, specifically for the Packers.
That's true.
But they're going to be in the kind of that second tier type of players coming in there. I would look at like interior D-line being something, maybe like a Josh Jobe at corner or something like that. And that's kind of where the Green Bay Packers kind of sit. Devin Lloyd, I just see him on here. Devin Lloyd is going to be somebody that's very, very coveted in free agency. I mean, very coveted in free agency. I think he's going to price his way out of Jacksonville. I would keep an eye on Carolina, among others, that could be interested in Devin Lloyd, who is just a playmaking speed freak in the middle of the defense.
Bro, that position the NFL free agency is just
to get that completely solidified.
The trade and all that about it is just
let's
crazy.
Get to the quarterback market, because I think we haven't really mentioned Malik Willis yet. This is the main quarterback we have our eye on today on Monday that has the ability to sign somewhere else, and we all know it's not going to be in Green Bay. This is the one big money deal. Where is it going to be? Some people said closer to 30. I think it's going to be closer to 20 to 25. And if that's the case, that might change his market just a little bit. Most of us do believe there's two teams that are really at the top of this for Malik Willis, and that is the Arizona Cardinals, and that is the Miami Dolphins. And let's break them both down individually, and I'll tell you why it's very appealing for both of these. With the Arizona Cardinals, obviously they're going to be paying the almost $40 million for Kyler Murray. They'll be on the hook for that, and Murray will play on the league minimum elsewhere. When you look at Mike LaFleur, he was never going to keep Kyler Murray. I found that out very clearly. They were never going to keep Kyler Murray, and he had a distinct plan of what he wanted to do. If you want to read the tea leaves a little bit, obviously his brother is going to shoot him straight on Malik Willis. It's also a very similar situation and system that he runs compared to Malik Willis.
And Dobbs, Dobbs a free agent too.
Oh, I got here's a little breaking news here. Got a little text. Cade Otton. I'll get back to Malik Willis, but Cade Otton of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers expected to go back to Tampa. That's a good. They thought they were going to lose him. Just got that given to me just now. Let's just kind of get this out there.
Bruh.
Ooh, let's see. Hold on, guys. You can watch me work here. Let's see. If I can't put it out, I just told you all anyway, so we'll see. Anyway, let's stick with Malik Willis here until I kind of fully break this down here. The reason Arizona fits is it's a very similar system. It's a very similar situation. There's a relationship there with Mike and his brother. That makes sense on where Mike LaFleur wants to pivot with this organization. Then you go to the Dolphins and you take a look at where they're at, and obviously John Eric Sullivan, their new general manager, and their new head coach Jeff Hafley, obviously both have a very good understanding of Malik Willis. I would say there might not be an organization outside of Green Bay that understands what Malik Willis is as a player better than the Miami Dolphins. I really think they're probably
QB1
the
now
team that understands
too.
him best. Why? Because Jeff Hafley went against him every single day when he was running the scout team offense, and then against Jeff Hafley's first team defense. They totally understand the limitations he has, which I think is an important part of this as well. Yep, there it is. That's what I was waiting for. Kenneth Walker is going to be landing. Just got a text. Kenneth Walker is going to be landing, so you can confirm it, with the Kansas City Chiefs. This was a move that I told you to keep an eye on, that they were going to go big game hunting, certainly at the running back spot. I think the Broncos were looking at Kenneth Walker in the backfield as well, but he is going to land with the Kansas City Chiefs. Something that has been lacking in Kansas City for some time is the balance of a running game to go against the rest of the passing game that they have with Patrick Mahomes. They wanted to change what they've been doing in terms of how they've run the football. Kenneth Walker's style fits what Andy Reid and company want to do. He is a patient runner. He is a guy that has that ability, that little bit of that Le'Veon Bell to him, that kind of rests and sits for a moment, and then has the ability to find his hole, find his gap, and then take the football downfield. What he adds to the offense and his capability of doing that, it allows Patrick Mahomes and company to be a little bit more a little bit more settled in terms of defenses being honest with them and what they're able to do in the defenses they're going to face. If you're going to sit there in that cover 2 shell that really kind of changed the course of the entire NFL with Vic Fangio using it against Patrick and the way teams were always guarding against the explosive plays that the Kansas City Chiefs had, the space that's created with that, now you have a legitimate running back, a Super Bowl MVP at running back, to now change the course of the way defenses cover you. They're going to continue to do that.
Yes, sir. Motherfucker. Come on. Come on. What? Seahawks, you fucked up. You fucked up. Nigga, we got him. We gonna take good care of him. You feel me? Yeah. What? Come on. We got Kendall Walker. Travis coming back for his 14th season. You feel me? We got the 9th pick in the first round. They say we might get Cornell Tate from Ohio State. If we get him, oh, buddy, boy, nigga, it's up. Yeah. What else? We got a new running back. You know what I'm saying? Dominating. He was dominating last year. Come on, fuck you talking about? They said they might resign Tyreek Hill to the Chiefs. I don't know that to be true. Most likely he's not resigning with the Chiefs. But if he do resign with the Chiefs, nigga, it's up. Super Bowl, we coming for you. You feel me? Come on. What?
That you lean on the back.
Come on.
Now, what we need to do is you're paying a back to be back there for the Kansas City Chiefs. So guess what?
Sir.
You're going to have to use him, Andy. Please use him.
Yes.
Please use him. And
he's
and
a good wide receiver
something
too,
that we
bro.
keep an eye on. But Kenneth Walker was kind of the belle of the ball.